All right. Hey, welcome. We have Jack Middleton of the Empowered Vegan joining us today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day, Jack, to share your secrets with us.
Thanks so much for having me, Kim. Happy to be here.
Yeah, Jack is it's completely awesome. He is a Red Seal certified chef. And I was reading, where did you go to school for your chef skills that you have? It's local to me, I believe.
George Brown College, actually, in Toronto.
Okay, so not too far away from our home base here. We're just going to jump in essentially and get some really good tips going, and then we could circle around and get a little bit of background from you, Jack. So I'm just right off the cuff. I'm going to start by asking, first and foremost, what are some secrets, some tips for making meals easier and faster? One of the biggest challenges we have is the lack of time in everyone's schedule. It's very difficult to have things go smoothly at the dinner table. We've got more than a few to feed, and if we've got parameters such as vegan or plant-based, it seems to step it up a little bit more. So, do you have anything that might make it a little bit faster and easier for us?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Over the last few years, I've been asked that exact same question many, many times.
Well, that's
Because I think, yeah, a lot of people can relate to the idea that, especially if you want to make a healthier change or you're looking at changing up your lifestyle, some of your routine items you used to make might not fit the bill. So you'll be learning, some new skills and some new dishes and things. So how can we make that the most efficient and effective way possible? And there's a few key things off the bat. One thing that I think is overlooked that is a really simple fix in terms of it being something that you can buy is if in your kitchen right now you don't have for yourself a really good or a really sharp chef knife, it makes a huge difference, because as you can imagine, on a plant-based diet, you're most likely going to be doing more chopping. So when it comes to veggie preparation,
it
and a
makes
lot
sense.
of people, pardon me?
It makes sense. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
everything you touch almost is going to be chopped and prepared via a sharp utensil.
yes, exactly. And the thing that I find where people have most resistance in recipes is when there's a significant amount of chopping, because a lot of people find that that's something that slows them down. And I can tell you categorically, the one thing that makes a huge difference, if you the kind of the litmus test for this, as I say, if you don't know whether your knives are sharp, they're not sharp. So and if they are sharp, it's going to make it so much easier. It's going to make it the process is going to be a lot more stress free, because I can tell you, even myself, if I was working with a dull knife, it would slow everything down. And on top of that, it also makes it for an unenjoyable experience. When you have a nice, good, sharp knife, and you're being careful and you have some basic knife skills under your belt, makes it very easy for you to be able to move through veggie chopping quickly. And for some tips on that, I have a video on my YouTube channel that shows you how to properly hold and do some basic cuts with a knife that, once you have those skills down, really foundational, it'll allow you to progress quickly in becoming more fast at chopping those vegetables.
Okay, so it's one thing to read about what you're talking about and to be speaking to you and hearing the intonation and how you're speaking about it. And I understand now why it is important. And like I said, I've read it before, I haven't paid attention, but now I'm actually very compelled. Be sure to share that YouTube video with us, Jack, so our ladies can take a view of that and start using it right away.
Absolutely. I'll send you the link for that for
Oh,
sure, so you can
okay.
share it with your viewers.
Yeah. And I don't know if you have anything else to add to that point.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll say one more thing here that is really key, and we could actually, I've taught whole 3 week series classes on this, hands-on classes on this, but just to wrap it up in a concise little package, the other thing that really is going to make the difference is really being strategic in how you're approaching cooking from a time perspective. So the simplest way to put it is, if you can get yourself into a routine of meal prepping, this is really going to be a game changer. This was a game changer for me when I started taking on a plant-based diet, and I wanted to have, and I started monitoring my nutrition. Um, uh, and what that really means basically is, if you want to have fresh and tasty food in your fridge that fits with the health and lifestyle that you want to live, at the end of the day, the cheapest and most effective way for you to do that is to make it yourself. And if you want to do that in a timely manner, then meal prepping is a great format for that. So what that would look like potentially would be you take a few hours on a Sunday evening and you get in the kitchen, you have a select few recipes and you make those in that time frame, and you do it in batch size. And the reason that you do that is so that you actually have multiple things throughout the week. And I would suggest that anybody who's approaching this for the first time, just make sure that you keep it really, really simple, so that you're not overwhelmed by the fact that you're in the kitchen for a set period of time, and make it recipes that either you're familiar with, or just do a few that might be new, so that you can have success your first time, and then get that experience of what it actually feels like to have fresh, ready-made meals made by you that you enjoy the flavor of, and that are in keeping with your goals or the lifestyle that you want to be living. And I guarantee you, it's one of the most effective ways to do it, because oftentimes what a lot of people will find, especially if they have families, is that they work all day, they come home, and on their way home they're trying to plan dinner in their head. Maybe they have to even go pick up the groceries, and even just the psychological burden or draining energy of that, having to make all those decisions in a quick period of time and consistently every night, can take a lot, on a day-to-day basis. So I find
I
that this kind of
totally
format,
agree. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
have you
it's
experienced
really
that?
it's not fair. That's why I want everyone, or at least as many people as we can affect, to embrace the fact that it can be easier. It can
Mhm.
be, less stressful. And it's all about I just posted something a couple days ago, basically habitual and systems. If you're
Beautiful.
doing this on a Sunday night, I really even I would cap it, at not too long a time you're spending in the kitchen as well, but to be
Mhm.
fairly organized and get in, get out, some good music in the background, etc.
Oh, it's
Okay.
beautiful. I love the way you said that. Habits and systems. That's a very good context to put it into. Yeah.
Oh, well, it's actually a module. It's part of a program I'm going to be putting out very shortly. Um, Basically, I would like to see our quality of life just go through the roof. I'd like to see everyone's lives. We've gone through a lot now because of COVID, and wouldn't it be nice to have a little bit of a relief, in that way? And thanks so much. You're really making a difference actually by joining us today and helping us with that.
Oh, wonderful.
So now I'm going to be a little bit selfish. Actually, there's another member of our group that has some constraints. This way, I have an awesome 11-year-old, and again, one of our members has some kids that are around the same age, and a friend of mine as well that's part of our group. Um, is there a way to make food, plant-based food, vegan food, certain items, be it as they may, attractive to tweens? That age group. I'm very pleasantly surprised to see more and more of this age group popping up. As far as I'm concerned, there's not enough yet, but
Mhm.
yes, and they have their restrictions. Some of them don't like beans, to be honest. Some of them don't like the different flavors that are out there. There's quite a few constraints. Is there anything that might make it a little bit easier, a trick of the trade that maybe we could implement in some of our meals for lunches or dinners?
Yeah, absolutely. So this kind of bleeds into a bigger conversation. But what I will say about this right now is that, having worked with kids in kids classes, group classes, as well as private lessons for parents who want to bring their kids more into a plant-based realm, the of course there's a subjectivity to this, because all kids have different, just like adults have different preferences and things they like, things they don't like. Some are more picky than others. But what I
Absolutely.
found consistently is there's things that kids love. Kids love pasta.
I was
Kids
just gonna say,
kids love pasta. Kids love pizza. A lot of kids love tacos. Kids love baking. There's so many different. So what I would say to a parent who is interested in shifting their household in a more plant-based direction is take all of the things that you know that your kids already like and just start veganizing them. So if your kids love mac and cheese, then start making a version, maybe make a butternut squash mac and cheese or a cashew based sauce for mac and cheese, or a sunflower seed based sauce, whatever it's going to be. Take the things they're most familiar with and don't throw a curveball. I mean, they're your kids, so you know what's going to work, and where you can push and where you can't. But take the things they're familiar with and just start putting them, changing the ingredients or shifting it into a plant-based context and ease them in that way. That's probably the best piece of advice that I could give there. And there's lots of different options and things for that. And that can even just be handled by a simple Google search. If your kids love, let's say, meatloaf, there's really good alternatives to meatloaf on the internet. You can look up lentil loaves, TVP based loaves, lots of different things that are kind of home style, will hit on those flavor notes, and won't kind of throw them off like introducing a whole slew of new vegetables or something like that.
Right, right. And I know for a fact in our house, for instance, like a lentil meatloaf, like a lentil loaf with the proper, gravy made properly and with mashed potatoes. Oh, and green
Mm.
peas goes over very, very well in this house. And that's
Hmm.
with my daughter as well. So yes,
Oh,
very good
excellent.
advice once again. Now, in the way of sauces, dressings, and such. Would you have anything that we could use that has been popular on your end? You do have the Empowered Vegan, and you do catering and meal delivery as well. So, is there one that kind of stands out from the others, or one that you would recommend?
Yeah, for sure. I think what I could send you guys, what I'll make available is we have, I'll try to pair them up with videos too. There are a bunch of videos on my YouTube channel that cover a lot of really basic, accessible recipes. And what I'll send you guys, though, particularly the thing that comes to mind is I'll send you my Caesar dressing recipe. This is a cashew-based recipe. Kids love the Caesar dressing if they like Caesar. Very easy substitution. You can do cashews for sunflower seeds if this is something you want to send them to school with. Raw sunflower seeds substituted with a 1-to-1 ratio for raw cashews
Oh,
in most sauces and desserts and cheesecakes and things like that works perfectly. So that'll handle any kind of nut allergy. And then something else I can do is um, I'll send you a mac and cheese that I have as well, that I think would be a nice addition. It's a butternut squash mac and cheese. We've been making it for years,
that's
and
a
it's
nice
a
alternative. Yes.
pasta bake. And same thing, you could substitute sunflower seeds in that one as well.
Okay, that's awesome.
Mhm.
All right, moving right along. Tofu is a popular subject because now the myth is being busted that basically tofu is grand. It's great for you.
Mhm.
Yeah, there was a lot of misconceptions over tofu. Organic tofu is awesome. Any recommendations for getting that extra little bit of crispiness if we're going to use it? In like an Asian stir fry, perhaps. Anything you have to say about tofu is muchly appreciated.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. So we'll be putting up a blog post on our website about this in more detail. We just did the recording for it the other day. Tofu, basically, when it comes to tofu, what I say is that tofu has a responsibility, and so do you. And when it comes to the responsibility of the tofu, its responsibility is to have the texture that exists on the label of the package. So if it says extra firm, it's going to be extra firm, but that's about all it's going to do for you. So past that point, you're responsible for the flavor end of things.
So funny.
Meaning that if you want it to taste good, you have to bring that to the table. And what that can look like is typically marinating. So you pretty much always want to marinate your tofu.
How
Or
long,
if it's,
sorry, how long
uh,
would that take?
I'm big fan of overnight. I don't go any shorter than overnight. You can, if you need to scrape by with a few hours, that's great. But if you have the foresight to do it the day before, you will benefit from that for
Okay,
sure.
all right.
Yeah, so tofu, and when I say tofu, I'm also speaking to tempeh as well. So either of those ingredients. And for those listening, if you're not familiar with tempeh, it's edamame beans, so soybeans that have been compressed and fermented. It's a great source of protein, has a nice semi-meaty texture, and soaks up flavor just like tofu. Um, when it comes to the crispiness factor, you want to make sure that there's basically two main ways to cook tofu. And one of them is fried in a pan, seared in a pan with some oil. And the other alternative is to have it be baked. Now, if you're going to bake it, the smaller the cubes you can cut it into, the more surface area, therefore the more crispiness you're going to get. And you want to do a higher heat, probably around 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Toss it with whatever seasonings you'd like and pop it right in the oven. When it comes to the frying, this is where you'll want to take a marinated tofu and sear it on very high heat in the pan using a high heat oil such as sunflower or grapeseed, some lighter oil like that, to get a real nice crispy sear on it. And if you're going to make a stir fry or something where you're adding other components and liquids and seasoning to the dish, just always make sure that before anything else goes in the pan, sear the tofu first and then build all your other flavors and vegetables and things on top of that.
Okay, that makes sense, definitely. So you don't add anything like a dry ingredients to the outside of the tofu at all, or would that be a benefit? I've seen that done before, maybe like a potato starch or something.
Sure. Yeah, you could. I've found in my experience that the crispiness can be sufficient without that. But if you were to do some kind of potato starch or arrowroot or cornstarch and toss it in that before frying, that'll just get it even crispier for sure.
Okay, absolute. That's awesome. You had some slides about tofu. Did you want to show those now, or is that?
Yeah, are we okay for time? We're at about 15 minutes.
Yeah. Well, if you have something important to show on the slides, that's up to you. I do have just one more question for you, actually.
Why don't you go ahead with the question? Because I think the question about tofu covered that.
Oh, okay. What's a game changer in your pantry? Is there something that maybe you have in your pantry that we don't? I am just on the cusp of releasing your pocket, or sorry, your plant-based pocket pantry, and that's basically recommending what I think those are the essentials. No more, no less. And having those things in your pantry, you can circulate them and never be caught, running to the grocery store without having what you need in your house at that time at a moment's notice. So what do you use
Yes.
on a regular basis that you
Yes, absolutely. Actually, if the question, then I will actually pull up the slides because then I can walk you guys through
okay?
just a couple of my favorite ingredients with pictures, which I find helps. Can you see that there?
I can. This is awesome.
Okay, perfect. So we just talked about tofu and tempeh. The next thing that I want to talk about though is miso paste. So what miso paste is essentially is it's a fermented soybean paste, and it is almost like a little bit of a bouillon. It's packed with flavor. It's a little bit salty, and it's got a flavor profile that in the kitchen we refer to as umami, which means a savoriness. The reason that miso paste is so useful is because it has a strong savoriness, and it can be added as a seasoning agent inside of soups and sauces and stews and gravies to really bring that extra punch to a dish. So if you find that something's missing a savoriness, miso paste is a great way to look, great place to look.
Yes, I
So
have that
miso,
in the pocket.
yes, okay, perfect. Yeah, I'm sure lots of these will show up in what you're looking at as well, or what you're providing. Nutritional yeast is of course another one. So the primary function for nutritional yeast, it also has an umami flavor, but the primary function would be bringing a cheesiness to dishes. So you'll find this inside of cheese sauce, queso sauces, but people also use this as a topping on top of dishes. So even just a sprinkling on top of pasta, as well as salads and things like that, just to bring that extra savory or cheesiness. It's wonderful. Next one, this is probably my all-time favorite. So if we're talking about a game changer for me, when I started exploring vegan cuisine about 5 years ago now, this bottle of tamari, actually when I got introduced to it, it was in a 20-liter pail. But this bottle of tamari is fantastic because what it basically is it's a gluten-free soy sauce. Soy sauce is typically fermented with wheat and soy. And when it comes to tamari, it's just soy. And what's so fantastic about it is it has an incredibly clean and savory flavor. So we're talking about the umami flavor profile again, and the reason why this keeps coming up is because in a meat-based diet, you find umami everywhere. in shellfish, in fatty cuts of meat, in cured meats, all kinds of different naturally occurring elements in cheeses. But in the plant-based diet, we have to look for it a little bit more. But when you start leveraging ingredients like tamari in your cooking, this can really take the savoriness of your dishes to the next level. And people often ask me, well, I don't want my food to taste like all my food to taste like Asian food. Totally understandable. Well, obviously, tamari shines in Asian cuisine. If you just use a little bit in the background of your dish, it's going to elevate the experience on your palate, but it's not going to necessarily be detectable as a soy saucy dish. So, for example, if you're on my YouTube channel, you'll see that my tofu scramble even has tamari in it for this very purpose.
For that little bit of umami in the background.
Exactly, exactly. And I think this would be the other one. I'll show you this and then one more after this one. But liquid smoke is another useful one. Very cheap to buy. You can get it almost anywhere now. And as you can see in the photo here, it's being used in a tofu marinade. And it also works well in barbecue sauces and things like that. And it brings that extra smoky flavor, which is great this time of year. And it's useful for kind of augmenting that savoriness as well. The only thing I'd say about it is just make sure that you're only using a very small amount in your dishes because it's very strong, and if you use too much, it can have an acrid flavor. So just a little bit goes a long way.
Okay, well, that's great for making it last longer too for families.
Absolutely, and the bottle's like $4, and I guarantee you it'll last you a year or more in your pantry, definitely.
That's wonderful. Okay.
And the last one that was another absolute game changer for me was this ingredient here. So this one's called black salt. The Indian name for it is kalinamic. And as you can see here on the screen in the little bottle here, it's not black at all. It's actually pink. The reason that it's pink is because it's pink when it's ground, but when it's in its whole crystal form, it's actually a dark brown, almost a blacky color.
That's what I was wondering.
Um,
Okay.
Yes, yeah, yeah. So don't get it confused. If you're in a grocery store and you see something labeled black salt and it's pink, you're looking at the right thing. And where you're going to find this is most likely in an Indian grocer. Most grocery stores don't have it yet because it's not that popular. But in vegan cuisine, it's excellent. And why is it excellent? It's because it makes things taste like eggs. So if you enjoy the sulfuric flavor of eggs, then this is a perfect substitution to add to things like a tofu scramble, like a tofu egg salad, like a quiche, vegan quiche, any kinds of custards or desserts. So last Christmas for one of our classes, we did a plant-based creme brulee, and the secret ingredient in it was the black salt because it just brings that little bit of a sulfuric taste that's in the background of the custard.
Oh my
So it really
gosh.
rounds it out.
Jack,
Yeah, yeah.
this is golden, Jack.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. So those would be my top recommendations or game changer ingredients that I would recommend exploring in your pantry for sure.
Well, that one there needs to be inserted. My daughter and I put together the Pocket Plant-Based Pantry, and of course, it's going to be featured on a deck of cards, so 52 cards. So now we need to take a look at the value of one of them and get the black salt in there.
Oh, absolutely. That's great. Yes,
Yeah, for egg salad sandwiches,
yes.
plant-based egg salad sandwiches, of course, the tofu scramble, et cetera, et cetera. That's wonderful. All
Yes.
right. Well, I have to say over delivered, Jack. Absolutely. Thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us. Yeah, for someone who's basically been at it around the same amount of time as you, I am very, very glad to put this out to our people. I know it's going to help them a lot. And yeah, is there anything, if someone wanted to reach out to you, you can explain a little bit about your services and what you're doing.
Yeah,
Again,
absolutely. Well, yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And lovely. I always appreciate an opportunity to speak about these things. Very these topics, even after these years, get me very excited. Um, in terms of us, we have so the Empowered Vegan is a catering company and an education company. We're based out of Hamilton, and we offer full service catering for anything from private parties to showers to celebration of life ceremonies to 200-person weddings, whatever it is you want done really well vegan, we do
that's
it.
awesome.
And we also offer a meal delivery service, which we come out with new weekly menus, and there's subscriptions associated with that, and you can order meals, fresh vegan meals delivered right to your door. So if the idea of meal prepping is something that you don't think you can get behind, that is the reason that we came up with this solution for those who are just too busy or who don't make the time for that kind of cooking. And then we also have a retail product company that released our first product in stores. Our second one's coming out in a couple of weeks, and it is a seitan-based product, so a wheat-based product, and it's a vegan rack of ribs. And I think if you're in the Woodstock area, we are in, I think the nearest place would be Maya Foods.
Maya is very
Maya.
close. Yes, it's
Yes.
just past downtown for me. Yes,
Yeah, they have a great plant-based section
they
there,
certainly do.
as far as I can remember. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, so if you can find us online on our website, theempoweredvegan.com. And again, the YouTube channel is a great reference for resources. And Kim, I'll send you everything we talked about in this video. I'll send you the links or the PDFs for those as well to share with your community.
All right. Well, I think, to be honest with you, a lot of our ladies are going to feel a lot more empowered after this interview. So again, thank you very much, Jack. Be sure to keep in touch with us, and we'll keep in touch with you. Yeah, and everyone, look forward to our next interview coming up very shortly. We pretty much do one every week. And yeah, Jack, you enjoy the rest of your day.
Wonderful, Kim. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, not at all. I enjoyed it. Take care. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.